All right, time is money. We only got 45 minutes here anyway. So, like, I don't have an extra 9 seconds to wait for this REI Rocks review. Angel Williams, how are you doing today?
I appear to be on green fire, but only my
Mm-hmm.
head, well, my shoulder. Yeah,
You're
I don't
just
know.
exuding
Yeah,
greenness. Green, green, green. Show me the money. Green. So, Jason Williams, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well.
Okay, excellent. And on that
Not like
note, so
green
what?
fire.
Jason's summoning up a little bit more enthusiasm. I think the best way to get him excited is for Angel to tell everybody what on earth we're doing here, just like the other Fridays at 11 a.m. So what's going
absolutely.
on?
All right, so every Friday we pull one of the past summit sessions out of our archives and we show it and break it down. And we help you figure out which parts of it are actionable for you and how to pull those pieces out, whether it be this session, another session on another Friday, or really anytime you go to an event or you hear a speaker. We are helping you figure out how to pull the actionable steps out of it and just how to make it work for you. And that's what we do every Friday.
Exactly. And it's not just altruism. It's really crazy that we have all this stuff that we give for free every Friday morning at 11 Eastern. But quite frankly, like we got to pay our bills. And that's why we also have some sponsors who, if they're keeping the lights on, they're getting to making it so you can see my bright and cheery face every Friday. So let's have a word or two from Sponsor Cloud, and it gives us a little bit break very early in the show. Let's do it.
Hey guys, it's Angel, and we are super excited to announce our newest gold sponsors, Sponsor Cloud. If you're wondering what Sponsor Cloud is the one-stop shop for sponsors to automate, to delegate, to execute every aspect of their syndication projects, from affordable PPM generation to investor relationship management to fund administration and compliance, exclusive capital raising networking events. Plus, for the REI Rocks community, they're going to offer free migration and customer success services when switching from another provider. That's like a $2,000 value. So contact Sponsor Cloud, contact them today, and see how much time and money you can save. You can visit them at sponsorcloud.io/contact and make sure you let them know that you're part of the REI Rocks community, because these sponsors are the reason why we are able to continue offering affordable and low cost, no cost education, summits, information, knowledge, experiences, all of the things that we're able to find and bring to y'all. It happens because we have sponsors like Sponsor Cloud. So check them out, see how they can help you out. And Sponsor Cloud, thank you.
I think that was amazing, and I was watching Angel's camera very carefully. How were you able to manage to type with your hands visible in one screen while you were talking like that? Was that the magic of Hollywood?
I think so. Hollywood you saw.
Right, exactly. I should apologize. I'm enjoying making my co-host squirm a little bit more than usual today. But we're going to be reviewing Dr. Jamil's presentation from the REI Rocks Summit. Do you want to say a thing or two about that before we get started, Angel?
I can. Dr. Jamil has an amazing story. He's an amazing coach. He has some really great tips and methods for getting your mindset where it needs to get. And he really just helps you understand that oftentimes the biggest obstacle in you achieving your goals is yourself. So he's just an amazing guy, and I'm glad that we're getting to review his session.
For sure.
Which summit is it from? Do you know?
This is the most recent one. I do.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the most recent one. It's this spring 2023 summit. And one of my favorite things is how we watch these at 1.5 times speed. I normally watch all my videos at 2 times speed. By normally, I mean exclusively. I guess now I think there's some chess videos out there where I'll go back down to like 1.5 or something. Now I think about it. So starting to watch some faster people. But this is a great way to learn about commercial real estate and just, like here, we're going to be talking about mindset. And I think it's just so important to be able to consume more information in a shorter amount of time, because that's the easiest way to 2x the amount that you are growing each week, each year, each month. But let's get started. Here we go.
Hey guys, it's Angel, and you are here at the Spring REI Rock Summit. I've said it a million times probably, but these are my 6 favorite days of the year because we do this twice a year. So I'm super excited to have Dr. Jamil with us. He is amazing, and he always has just amazing things to share with us. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Jamil, and I'm just going to let him take off.
Thank you so much, Angel. Such a privilege to always get to contribute to the community and be a part of this summit. And I want to just thank you for putting it on, you and your team. I know without you guys, this wouldn't be happening. And for everyone who's tuning in, I want you to think about how rare it is as a percentage of the population that you're investing in yourself with your time, your energy, your money, you're showing up, you're wanting to grow, you're wanting to develop, you want to get further ahead than you are now. Most people aren't willing to do that. And so just a massive acknowledgement to every one of you who are tuning in. Well done. And so I'm going to share my screen. I have a presentation for you today that I think will really, really support you. Angel, can you confirm in a moment that you see the full screen now?
I do.
Perfect. All right. So today's presentation is called The Most Powerful Point of Leverage for Your Success. So there we go. Perfect. So a little bit about me. If anyone here, some of you may have seen me before, some of you may not. I'm Dr. Jamil Sayegh. I'm a life, business, and relationship coach, as well as many other things. And everything that I do is centered around helping leaders, champions, and high performers to experience more happiness, peace, and fulfillment as they create an extraordinary life without regret. I want to begin by just defining my terms here. When I think about a leader, I think about a person who wants to make a positive impact and difference, not just for themselves, but for their family, their company, their community, and depending on how big their vision is, their country, the world. When I think about a high performer, this is a person who wants to do the best that they can do at the things that matter most to them. When I think about a champion, this is a person who says, I want to be the best, period, at the thing that's most important to them. And the thing is, some people hear those three and they say, oh, wow, I wish I could be one of those things, or all three of those, not realizing that nobody is born as a leader, champion, or high performer. These are choices that you make in a standard that you can hold yourself to or not hold yourself to, moment by moment by moment. And the good news is you get to decide, do I want to start being that? And look at your own life. Maybe in some areas, you're already really doing well in each area in those categories. In other areas, you could be stepping up more. And so something to be with. And the way my work works is I spend time with people and we dive deep in conversation, and I help you see yourself and your world differently. And as your sense of self changes, you show up as a more powerful, competent, capable version of you, what I call the real you. And when that happens, the rising tide lifts all boats. All the problems and challenges shift and start to melt away because you're showing up to the party, let's say, as a more capable version of you, so you can handle things that before you really didn't think you could. And all the goals and dreams that you had get manifested so much faster. And I've seen things happen where people have a 10-year goal and we make it happen in 9 months, we make it happen in a year, and you can compress the decade into years, the decade into days, if you show up for yourself at these deeper and more profound levels. And so today I'm going to share with you strategies, tips, and ways of being that I share with my clients to help them create what I would call an unbeatable and unbreakable mindset, but also dive into what is this most important leverage point to your success. And if I can answer any questions, I know that this isn't live right now, so if I can answer any questions, feel free to message me. I'll give you all the details at the end and we will dive in. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So to get the most from today, a couple of just kind of homework items, or not homework items, but you get it. Number one, take notes. So pen and paper, research is showing that if you're going to type, okay, it's cool, but pen and paper, you're going to retain it longer. So if you take pen and paper, it'll increase the retention and the learning. You want to take it a step further, review your notes at least once within the next 2 days. You're going to retain even more. And finally, if you're here with the intention to teach it to somebody else, if you pull 1, 2, 3 things out of this that you go, oh my God, I needed to hear that, share it with your spouse, your family member, your friend, your kids, your whoever it is, your business partner. But just by you teaching it, it drives it deeper into you. Number 2 is remain open-minded. Some of what you hear and see today, you've been exposed to before, and some of it you haven't. And I ask you to take what's useful for you. Don't fall victim and prey to a few phrases that destroy, let's say, all of our hopes and dreams. In business, when you know a business isn't going to be around too much longer, is when they really rely on the phrase, oh, this is how we've always done it. And so they're not willing to innovate and to change. And in our personal lives, the way you know that you're probably in trouble is when you say, oh, I already know that. And when you say, I already know that, what you do is you close your mind. You shut down and you say, nothing here to see, because I read that in a book before, or I heard that somewhere. But if your life is not a perfect embodiment of it, you don't know it. You just intellectually understand it. And so many of us, because we intellectually understand a lot, because we read a lot or we go to seminars or we do whatever we do, we think we got it. But our lives, at times at least, are still a mess. And so you don't have it as well as you could. And so I ask you to, as they say in Zen Buddhism, be here with a beginner's mind. In the mind of the master, you got infinite possibilities. But in the mind of the student who thinks that there's a definite endpoint. Like the master is a student perpetually, always learning. There's always more. There's things I don't know. But the student thinks there's a point where I'm going to arrive where I know it all and I don't have to learn anymore. Don't be that person. Be the perpetual student, be open, and show up here with an empty cup to be filled. And that's how you're gonna get the most from today. And the last one, again, if this was in person, it's a little bit different, but at the same time, give 100% of you to this experience. If you're listening to this on a recording, There's different ways you could listen. You could listen where, all right, I got 15 minutes. So I'm going to give 15 minutes to this, and then I'm going to stop and I'll come back to it tomorrow. Or I'm going to have my cell phone with me and the email is going to be binging and I'm going to have distractions. I'm going to have the TV on in the background. Anything that you do that makes it where you're not 100% here, you're shooting yourself in the foot before the race begins. You are hurting the gold nuggets that you could receive from this. You're not going to receive them because you're going to miss it. So I ask you to show up here fully, remove the distractions, take a moment, pause the video, put the phone on do not disturb, airplane mode, whatever it is, and actually set aside the 60, 70, 90 minutes that we're going to be together to really give yourself this gift of that 100% presence. I truly believe that our time together today can be the most valuable experience of your life. And I don't say that, lightly, but the thing is you have to be fully present. My goal here, my intention is to show up as fully as I can, to bring everything I can to support, but I'm only half the equation. How you choose to show up is going to determine what you receive. Now, I want you to think about this idea that if you were on a plane right now and the flight attendant came out, and in the beginning, they're teaching you how to use a seatbelt. And anyone who's been on a plane before, we've had the experience. And so they say, please, give your attention to the front of the plane. And you look up and you go, I've seen this before. I know that already. And so you tune out and you're looking at your book, you're looking at the screen, you're looking at whatever you're talking to someone, whatever you're doing, you're not doing what they're telling you to do. And then because you say, I already know that, nothing's going to happen, whatever the story you tell yourself. Then halfway through the flight, you've had more turbulence than usual. Flight attendant comes out and they say, we're going to crash. And if you listen to what I'm about to say in the next 30 seconds, you might survive. And you come from that space of what would you do in that moment? How would you listen? Would the tablet or the phone or the screen or the conversation that you're in or the book be as important? Or would you put all your attention on what that person's saying? And every one of you is going to say, well, I put all my attention on what that person's saying. Now, why? What's different than it was before? And in that moment, you'd say, well, because my life is on the line. This is important. And you're spot on. And my invitation for you to consider is right now, you being here 100% fully without distraction, your life is on the line because the future is created by what you decide to do right now. And there's a future version of you that won't exist if you don't get what is here for you today to get, because you won't act in a certain way, you won't take a certain action or not take a certain action because of what you would take from today if you missed it. And so the future you is on the line. This is life or death. And I want you to have the beautiful life that you're wanting for yourself. So be here fully and completely. Give yourself this gift. You will not be the same version of you that you were at the beginning of this at the end. So my promise to you, thinking about, imagine like playing along as if this was a live seminar, like, raising the hand, like being with me in this. How many of you have attended a goal setting workshop or set goals in your life? And pretty much, I'd imagine if you're here, all of you, you've got things that you want. So now how many of you notice that your goals don't always come true? And it's like from that space, I think we've all had a goal that we've set at some point in some capacity in our life that it didn't happen. Now, why do you think that is? For some people, they'll say, external circumstances happened. I got busy. I lost my focus. I set goals that were too big, whatever it is that they come up with. And they have reasons why they say it didn't happen. Now, today, we're going to find out why that is that it didn't happen. My promise to each of you is this will be the most unique and different experience of the process of getting what you want that you've ever seen. Today, we're going to discuss the most powerful way to achieve everything you want in your life. And the cool thing is it has very little to do with what you're doing. And I love how, Angel, your face kind of turned right there, because that's how most people are going to respond to that. Most people are walking around thinking that what they do, the actions that they take are the most important thing. And in a sense, it's not the most important, but it's very important, because if you don't take action, nothing happens. So you have to make sure you're taking action. You can't, this isn't like The Secret, sit on the couch somewhere and pray for the check and, it shows up. But at the same time, the action is secondary, and that'll make sense, as we go forward today. Let me see. So sometimes I hit space bar and it goes forward and sometimes it doesn't. There we go. Okay. So a couple, let's say foundational questions that are rhetorical to be with. So what is a goal? We all might define it differently, but a simple definition, something you'd like to create and experience in the world. And then why do we have goals? My perspective, I believe we have a goal because we want to evolve into the best version of ourselves, or at least a higher version of ourselves. Think about it. You set a goal. A goal is something you don't currently have. And so it's bigger than you. It's going to require you to level up. It's going to require you to expand in some capacity. And so now, it's not, you become a greater version of you in the process of going after it. And then what is it that you want? This is going to be different for everybody. So think about what would be an amazingly wonderful life. What would you love? Not what do you think you can have, which is coming from a space of like a limited mindset. What would you love? What would be so exciting where you woke up in the morning and you'd be giddy with joy of, oh my God, this is my life. I get to experience this. And to think about in your business, what is it that you're wanting to create? What's that level of impact? In your finances, how much money are you looking to create in this world? In your health, your vitality, your fitness, your energy, what do you want that to be like? Your relationships, if you're in an intimate relationship or with your family, friends, whoever it is, colleagues, what kind of relationships are you wanting? And then your contribution, your impact, your legacy. What kind of impact you want to make in the world? What do you want to be known for? And what do you want to leave to, whether it be your children, your grandchildren?
I'm going to pause it right there. And it's because we're 15 minutes into our REI Rocks review today, which starts at 11 a.m. Eastern each Friday. And I think I want to mention, first of all, that what Dr. Jamil is describing, I've also heard it called the static versus growth mindset, whereas static interpretation of your own identity, it's like there's a goal, there's a and there's an end point, and then once you're king of the castle or queen of the castle or whatever the heck you're the boss of and prefer to be called, then you just don't have to answer to anybody. And entrepreneurship is way too multifaceted for that kind of way of thinking. And the thing that I want to emphasize is the being alone as an entrepreneur. Like, that idea, I think, is so pivotal to understand. And that's why there's mindset involved in every single one of these summits. So like that kind of growth, that kind of opportunity to realize is like, and the ego is a very slippery thing, right? If you want to get your finger on it and be really careful, then you really have to make sure and be really clear and brutally honest with your intentions. And that's why I think it's so important to surround yourself with people who have that same urge, that same part of their personality, where it's just like, you know what? No, I like, when it comes to being right or winning the argument, like you do have, when you grow up a bit, you do have to turn that around a little bit, I think. But where I'm going in this big roundabout thing is first of all, how to meet more people who are like this and can support you not only in your commercial real estate, but if you're in a related field. I got to mention Marvelous Mondays. So Angel, do you want to say a thing or two about Marvelous Mondays?
Absolutely. Marvelous Mondays is our weekly meetup. We meet every Monday at noon Eastern, and it's about 25 to 40 of your closest real estate investing pals. We're super laid back. And we'll answer your questions. You don't have to be nervous or be ashamed or afraid to ask a question, because we're just going to help you figure out the answer. We're not going to shoot you down or make you feel weird about asking questions, because everybody's there to learn. And it's just a really neat vibe there. It's just super cool. And I feel really amazingly fortunate to have been able to help assemble this group of people that meet every Monday, and just I get to share part of my day with them, and they get to share part of their day with me. And it's just amazing.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And the other thing we should mention, because of our group opening up in June, is we also have a mastermind coming up, which that is truly the way that, I don't know about you, but this year, the mastermind, it really made me feel like I've solidified my direction for this year. It's like, I don't know, Jason, do you want to say anything about this, or before we continue Dr. Jamil's presentation?
Mute. So the mastermind, I mean, and it's no more than 12 people. So I mean, we're really, really close group of people who know each other intimately, know each other's business intimately, and basically want to help each other grow and level up. And so we're offering that again in June, and we ask you, if you're interested, go to the link and fill out the application. It is interview based, so we will vet everybody, because we don't want wallflowers. We want people who will contribute, because when everybody contribute, everybody grows. So
Exactly. Yeah, that was fantastic. All right, so let's continue with Dr. Jamil's presentation. Once again, this is at 1.5 times playback speed, and this is all actually part of the VIP access area at the Academy Presents. We'll talk about that in a moment, but let's continue with this presentation.
Children, future generations, whatever that might be. And then what kind of happiness and fulfillment do you want? If we don't know what it is we're going after, you're never going to get there. So getting clarity first around what do you want. So before we dive into the meat of today, I want to give you just a beginning intro. What is a goal? Why do we have goals? And then what are your goals? Some people are listening and they know all of these. They go, oh yeah, I want this, I want this, I want this. Some people are listening and they go, I haven't really thought about it, or I'm not sure. And so this is my invitation for you. Think about it. Actually get clarity around what it is that you want. And then why is it that you want that? Think about each of these goals. What would that do for my life? If I had that, what would it allow me to experience? And then how would other people benefit? That's really important, because questions like these emotionalize your goals, and they dramatically increase the likelihood that you're going to persevere and succeed. Very often, if I ask you, what are your goals? What do you want? You might be able to rattle them off intellectually. You can say them, but maybe they're not happening. And if they're not happening, it's probably because you're not doing what it takes. But if you're not doing what it takes, one of the reasons is because you're disconnected from the emotional side of it. You're not in tune with why you're doing it and what it's going to do for your life, and how your kids or people that you care about are actually going to benefit. And when I ask you, what do you want and why is it important to you? If you can get tears in your eyes because you're that emotionally connected to it, the chances of you persevering through hard times, the chances of you actually making it happen are so much higher. So get clarity. What would it do for my life? What would it allow me to experience? And how would other people benefit? It's like injecting rocket fuel into your goals in terms of making that happen. So now what is it really all about? So we went into what's the goal? What does the goal do for you? Why do we have them? What are your goals? And why is it important that you get them? But now it's, what is it really all about? Why do we actually have goals? I found that there are two reasons. We really want our goals to come true because we're chasing a feeling, how we believe we'll feel once we've achieved our goal. And so think about it from this perspective. If I told you right now, hey, I have all this money and I'm going to be giving it away. For anyone who messages me, I'm going to just give you $1 billion and no strings attached. How many of you would like that? And pretty much everyone's going to go, you're giving away $1 billion? I'll take it. Yeah. And from that space, all I tell you though is, yeah, $1 billion, it's clean, it's yours. The only thing is you can't spend it or invest it. You can't do anything with it. You can just have it. Now at that point, how is your excitement still at a 10? Oh my God, I can't wait to get this. Or is it like, oh, it's kind of deflated a little bit? And it would get deflated because you don't actually want pieces of paper or ones and zeros on a computer piling up somewhere.
But can you borrow against it? Sorry.
You never want money. You want what you think money will do for you. You want what you think you'll feel when you have the money. So even if you say, well, if I got the money, I'd be able to buy the house or the car or the whatever. Yeah, but you don't want that either. You want the feeling of driving the car, or you want the feeling of living in the house, or you want the feeling of whatever it is that you buy that you think would have. Or if you retired your family, let's say your parents, or you donated money to charity. That's not what you want either. You want that feeling of contribution. You want that feeling of significance or whatever it is that it would do for you. You're always chasing a feeling. And when you think about this, there's millionaires and billionaires out there who have everything that you think that they would need to be happy. And many of them are not. And so it can't be the thing. Money's not going to do it for you. And there's people who've got practically nothing in this world from a material perspective. Some of them are miserable and some of them are really, really happy. And how's that possible? Because it's not the stuff. It's the internal feeling. And so that's the first reason why you're going to want to go. The second reason is who you believe you'll become as a result of the process of achieving your goal. Now, many of my clients are in the real estate space. I've been blessed to work with people from around the world for years. Some of them investors, brokers, loan officers, agents. And one of my clients in particular is a real estate investor. And I gave him this 6-week challenge. He was looking for a new deal in real estate and he was having some issues finding it. It was taking longer. And I challenged him and we went through this whole process and basically we turned it into a 6-week game to find this deal. And I showed him ways of being more resourceful than he was being before. And 3 weeks into our challenge, he's telling me, I am doing so much more than I've probably ever done in the last 3 weeks. I'm calling more people, I'm being more resourceful, I'm doing all these things that I wasn't doing before. I don't even know why I wasn't doing it. And now I'm doing it. And I told him, this is the beauty of this process. Whether or not you get this goal in 6 weeks is irrelevant. If you find the deal in 6 weeks or less because of what you're doing, awesome. But what you're doing now is a whole different level that you're playing at than you were before. And so who you're going to become as a result of this 6-week process is a version of you that can get any deal going forward, regardless of how long it takes. This is the version of you that can get it. And so who you become in the process of achieving your goal is more important than what you get in the goal itself. And so the secret is states of being and emotional states. They're all available to you right now. They're not something that is dependent on the external. And so let's dive in, let's talk about it, and let's really make sense of it together. So this is something that I call the human experience in 3 steps. I came up with it probably a couple years ago. And the thing is that I have clients that I've shared this with that are 6, 7, 8, 9-figure earners, net worth people who, as simple as what I'm about to show you is, a year into our work, they still don't get it. And so it's deceptively simple. And so I ask you, do not approach this with, oh, that's easy, I got it, I've heard that. No. This is everything that you've ever experienced in your entire life and everything you will ever experience going forward in like 12 words or less. And so if you really be here for this, it'll land. And if it doesn't land as fully, let the seed be planted and then allow yourself to be with it going forward. So step 1 is that life happens. Your external circumstances are whatever they are. People are born, people pass away, economies go up and economies crash. You're really healthy and then you're not. Like, things happen. So life happens. Now, life happens is always neutral. Life happens is not good, bad, right, wrong, because those are judgments that we put on it. So we've got life happens. But then there's step 2. We interpret it. So we give meaning to whatever it is that's happening. We put a definition to it. We put the good, bad, right, wrong. And then we experience our interpretation. This is all that's ever happening. And I'll give you a couple examples to play with this and hit the point home. But I want you to recognize that most people, they leave out step 2. And so they think that life happens and I experience life as it is. And that's why they'll say, if I'm talking to Angel right now, because she's the only one I can see. So I'm talking to Angel right now and I say, hey, Angel, how are you feeling? And if Angel tells me, I'm really mad. And I say, why are you mad? And she says, because Jack or Derek or Cindy did this, or because something external happened. What she's doing, if she eliminates step 2, is I'm mad because that person did this or because the external situation looks like that. But that would imply that that person did it to you or the external situation did it to you. But that isn't how it works. And this is an example I'll give to hit that home. If you said to me, hey, Jamil, how you doing? And I'm like, I'm pissed off. And you go, why? Because it's raining outside. And you say, what do you mean? And I say, I had all these plans. I was going to go on a hike. Now my plans are ruined. I can't go outside. It's probably in the street's probably going to flood or something. Like, day sucks. And you sit there and you go, oh, that's unfortunate. Okay, sorry to hear that. But then you go to the person up the street and they seem so giddy and happy. And you say, wow, you look happy. And they go, I am. And you say, why? And they say, it's raining outside. And then you go, what do you mean? And they go, the most precious resource on the planet is falling from the sky for free. I'm getting a free car wash. My plants are getting watered. And I'm going to go out in my bathing suit and jump in a puddle. I can't wait. Now, you ask either of those people, they'll tell you that the rain made them angry and the rain made them happy. How can the rain do both of those things at the same time? The answer, it doesn't, because rain can't do that. Rain is just water falling from the sky. It's a neutral event. The meaning that you give it, your interpretation, is going to determine your experience. But if you say the rain made me angry, you just became a victim to nature. You just became a victim to the external environment. If you say Cindy, Mary, Joe, whatever it was, made me feel anything, you're missing the point, because it doesn't work that way. Nobody can make you feel anything. Only you make you feel whatever you feel, because emotions aren't like Mario video games back in the day. You're walking around and a little mushroom or a star, and you hit it and you grow. It doesn't work that way. It's not out there. There's not like anger out there that you bang into and you feel it. Anger arises in you. Happiness arises in you. It always comes from you. And so to give you a different example, I know, Angel, you have kids, and some people who are listening have children, and whether you do or you don't, you can still be with the example. It still applies. Imagine there you are sleeping in your room, it's 4 a.m, it's 3 a.m, you're exhausted, you're sleeping, and your 6-year-old kid comes running in screaming, "Mommy, mommy, daddy, daddy, there's a monster in my room." And you're sitting there like, "Oh shit, this is the 4th time this week." And you know there's no monster in the room, but you also know you can't just say there's no monster, go back to bed, because you tried that yesterday and it doesn't work. And so from that space, you're like, all right, and you put your hand down, your kid's grabbing you, and you're getting walked over to your kid's room, and you're like kind of stumbling, you're like, all right, let's deal with this again. And when you walk into the room this time, you notice there's this giant shadow monster on the wall, and you're like, Jesus. And you see this thing and you go, what the hell is that? And for a moment, you're like, get behind me. You're like, there's a monster. And the logical version of you kicks in and goes, hold on, I know there's no monster. So that's the version of you that life happens, like there's a monster, but then you interpret it and you go, hold on a second, no, I know there's not a monster. What the hell is that? And you look around and you see the teddy bear in front of the nightlight. And right when you see that, you go, oh, that's what it is. Teddy bear shadows on the wall. The kid doesn't know that though. Now in the moment, the monster is no longer real for you. That's why you had the initial fright, because you thought it was real. Then you saw the actual cause of it, and then it lost all of its form because it wasn't real to begin with. So for you now, you're not afraid anymore. Your kid's still terrified, trembling, grabbing your leg. Now, if you were to say to your child, oh, honey, there's no monster, it's okay, go to bed, nothing's going to happen. Your kid's going to come running back into your room screaming because the monster's still there staring at your kid. But if you walk your kid over to the nightlight and grab the bear and move the hand and the monster starts waving, and then you say, honey, look, it's just Mr. Bear. It's a shadow, just like the sun makes a shadow with you. And your kid goes, really? And he goes, yeah, look, you try it. And the kid grabs the bear and moves in, and the monster goes away and all these things. And now the kid starts laughing. Now your kid can go to bed at peace. But what about the monster? Like, what do we do about the monster? The question doesn't make sense because there never was a monster to begin with. When you see the cause of it, the monster disappears. In that same way, so many of us, pretty much all of us at various points in our life, you are creating monsters in your life every day. And you're creating it and thinking that they're real. So you're responding as if they're real, just like your child would. But the thing is, the monster isn't real. The monster is made of thought. And if the moment you see that I interpret everything that's happening, and if I don't like what I'm feeling or experiencing, don't blame that person, that situation, whatever it is. Go inside and ask, what am I thinking and believing that's creating my experience right now? The moment you do that, you take back control. You empower yourself and you create the life experience that you want. Now, that doesn't mean that external factors aren't a thing. Yeah, the economy can crash. Things happen. People get sick. There's things that occur in life. But when you walk outside in the morning and let's say you have a flat tire, somebody popped your tire, something happened, that's still a neutral experience. That's life happens. How do you interpret it? If the interpretation is, oh my God, I'm going to be late, I'm going to lose my job, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. Now, that might be true. You might actually be late and there might be a consequence. But in that moment, you are not feeling, I lost my job, because it didn't actually happen. You're feeling the thought of, I lost my job. And that's creating the experience as if you did, because you're that powerful. You can think a thought and then go either spiral down absolutely crazy into panic, or you can think a thought and have gratitude and bliss and all these wonderful experiences. And so, yes, there are external factors, but your experience is always based on how you choose to interpret it. And so I'd like you to be with these 3, write them down, think about them. And if this is literally the only slide that you remembered going forward, it would change your entire life. And so really be with that, please. So then remember, this is kind of reiterating the point I was just making. Remember where feeling comes from. The feeling that you're after doesn't come from the result. If it did, everybody would get the same feeling from that result. If the result caused it, they've surveyed and asked people who won the lottery, like Mega Millions, within a year, when you interview them a year after they won, they've returned back to the same level of happiness and well-being that they had at the beginning. So they're not any happier than they were before. And you get a new car, or you get some type of material thing that you've wanted to buy for a long time, and you get it, and it's always been so like meaningful for you to have, and you finally get it, and for a little while, yeah, you're excited. The new car's in the driveway, you got the watch, you got whatever. At some point, it's just a car. At some point, it's just a watch. At some point, you're maybe even sick of it. And so from that space, it tells you it's not the thing giving you the result. It's not the result giving you the emotion. It's you. So the emotion is coming from your thinking. And that's great news because it means you're always just one thought away from feeling anything that you want. It's like Russell Brunson, the big marketing guy. He talks about how he's like a funnel guy, and he says you're one funnel away. And it's a similar idea. You're one thought away from feeling anything that you want. All thoughts are available to you right now in this moment. So this moment is as good as it's going to get. As it relates to your ability to think thoughts. You're never going to have a better or worse moment to think thoughts, which means that all the happiness, all the joy, all the anger, all the depression, it's all available to you right now. And just like a radio station, whatever you tune to, you get to experience. And so if you don't like the song that's playing, because it's a song of anger or it's a song of depression, you don't blame the radio station. You're the one who tuned to it. And it's not about blame or fault or guilt or I'm not doing any of that. It's about responsibility. And responsibility, when you break it up, it's the ability to respond. If I don't like something in my external world, I can do something about it. Even if it's just my interpretation. because I might not like that the economy crashed. I might not be able to do anything about that, but I can choose how I shift from that. When COVID happened and lockdowns happened, and then all of these businesses got shut down, like I'm in New York, and in March I was like the epicenter of everything. And for the first several months, all these businesses got shut down, and a lot of them unfortunately went out of business. And it devastated, their family, and some of them were family businesses that were around for a long time. But there were however many businesses that decided, well, we got to pivot here, and they decided to go online. And then they ended up at the end of the pandemic and through the pandemic, they ended up making more money than they've ever made. And then they ended up becoming a hybrid where they kept the online model that they didn't have before. And then they had the brick and mortar again. But if you ask them after the fact, years later, now that they have all this extra success, they would say from a business perspective, COVID lockdowns were the best thing that ever happened to them. How is it that the lockdown for one group is that horrible and the lockdown for the other one is so miserable? What they chose to do with the information. Life happens. What do I do with it? What am I going to build with this? That's very important to be with. And so the challenge is, you tell yourself, when I have X or when Y happens, then I'll finally be happy or successful or enough. So think about your version of this. When I finally get into the relationship that I'm looking for, or when I finally get a divorce, or when my kids move out, or when I have kids, or when I finally make enough money, whenever enough is for you, and enough never is enough because you always push the bar back. You always change it. Whenever I finally get whatever, then I'll feel what I want to feel. And the problem is you're making your emotional state conditional. You're putting a
So this has been absolutely amazing. And one of the problems I have is I always like to make smart alecky remarks, and it doesn't really suit smart alecky remarks, but I want to make sure that everybody knows how you access all of this different summit information. When Angel and I were figuring out how we were going to promote this library of content, one of the big ideas was going like, well, we need to show people what's inside, what's available. But the other big thing is just we had to find a way to make sure that we'd never run out of stuff to show. And that's exactly what we have. There's absolutely no way we could run out of content. And all of it is available at this address right here. You can scan this code with your phone or visit that URL. Angel, you can get amped up about all this content because there's even more than 250 hours now. So convince them. Oh, you're muted. Hang on. Now you're unmuted.
I'm like trying to unmute myself and you're talking. I don't know how much convincing it takes. I mean, there's over 400 hours of content there. You could listen every single day for an entire year, just learn an absolute ton of information, and there'd still be more. And while you're going through it, we're still adding to it. So it's constantly growing. There's always going to be more. And the other thing I've come to realize is that as Jason and I have grown in our own journey, the information and the presentations in the summit have advanced as well. So you really get a chronological advancement when you go through these summit sessions, because it started off really beginner, because that's what we were. We were super duper really beginner, and we did come with some residential experience, but that was it. So we started out there, and then as we grew, so did the information. And so you really get that chronological level of growth that if you get your subscription, you're going to be where you need to be, and you're going to be coming up, and it's going to keep growing and building on what you've learned if you start at the beginning. So it's just an amazing way to get a remarkable education for a super amazing price.
I completely agree. And it's so funny because when I knew that we'd be promoting this older content, I was coming from the tech side, where I'd review stuff if it was necessary only. But now that we've been doing these, I've been going back. One thing that concerns me is you'd have people looking into their crystal ball, doing some prognostication, trying not to hurt themselves, and I was a little bit concerned that we go back. It's like, yeah, that totally wasn't how that went down at all. But it's really been a lot of the opposite, which I think is really amazing. And I think it also really demonstrates the integrity of the people who we have on as speakers. If they were blowing smoke, then it would be pretty obvious. It's because there's been a lot of things that have been predicted inside these summits that absolutely came to pass. And, it was just a matter of degree. But
and
mhm.
even if they didn't come straight up, they're not so far off. They're pretty close if they didn't hit straight on.
Right, exactly. So, we got a Facebook user mentioning that Jamil is awesome because he is.
He
It's
is
absolutely
absolutely.
true. Right. But the only other thing that I need to mention before we watch a little bit more is how Jason is doing more underwriting. And so, it would have been pretty crazy back 5 years ago thinking that our chief underwriter would also be a fashionista. But of course, for underwriting, like he's the guy to talk to. It's like whenever I hear about what's gone wrong in a deal, the question comes up. It's like, well, whose underwriting actually, accounts for that? And I get to say, it's like, yeah, Jason's totally does. But Jason, you want to plug yourself a little bit here? Say what you have on offer.
So I have a couple different offers regarding underwriting. One, I have my second set of eyes, which will look at existing underwriting for you. If you need help with your underwriting, or if you don't even have an underwriter, we can work that out. But I'm also starting up a coaching program where I teach people how to be underwriters, where they can underwrite with certainty, clarity, and confidence, and know that if they want to submit an LOI, they don't have to second guess their numbers or anything. So I'm working on that. If you're interested, you can hit me up in LinkedIn. You can send me a DM, and we can start chatting from there.
Awesome. And I've seen coaching programs where basically what they do is they teach you how, like, enough to be dangerous, and they say, you're gonna rely on the underwriting from the loan. They're going to have their own underwriting, and that's not a good place to be in. The devil's in the details, and knowing those numbers, I think, is really important. So that's why you should reach out. I think it's a real Achilles heel in a lot of people's businesses.
Yeah, well, and I think there's a lot of people out there that they do their underwriting for their LOI. And really that underwriting is, it's the roadmap to your business plan. So you need someone on your team that can go back and look at that underwriting, make changes as necessary so that you can still stay on the right path to your projected returns. You have to be able to make changes, and you're only going to be able to do that if you know how to manipulate or you know how to use your underwriting. It is more than just a way to get the LOI. It is truly your roadmap to your business plan and to making your deal successful.
I completely agree. So this is the REI Rocks review. We review summit presentations from our summits, and we watch them at 1.5 times speed. We start at 11 a.m. Eastern every Friday, and this is Dr. Jamil talking about mindset as it comes to becoming basically more able to continue as an entrepreneur and succeed. So let's continue.
Rule on it that you're basically saying, I will not allow myself to feel happy or whatever I want to feel until the external world gives me this thing that I want. The challenge there is that's not how life works. And so when you're giving yourself, I'm going to give you a distinction actually right now that's going to hit it home. So all this does is make your emotions conditional, like I said, on the external. You give your power away. And because most people operate this way, 99.9% of people think that way. Because that's how we grow up thinking. That's our condition. What makes me happy? And then they talk about all the external things. I was on a podcast probably 1.5 years ago, and this woman asked me some really interesting questions. And the first question she said to me is, what makes you happy? And I knew it was an interesting question, and I knew what she meant by it, but I said, me. And I just paused, because I could tell you all these external things that I love seeing and people, things that I enjoy, but that isn't the source of it. But then she asked me later, what makes you angry? And I said, me. It's not anything outside of me. And so, distinction I want to share with you all. Are you working towards your goal to get happy, or are you working towards a goal happily? This is a distinction I share with my clients all the time. And it goes back to what I was saying about making your emotional state conditional. If I'm going towards a goal to get happy, think about like the alphabet, A to Z. A is where I'm at, Z is the outcome. That's where I want, final destination. That's where I want to go. And if I'm working towards a goal to get happy, the condition I've created is I'm at A, I'll be happy when I arrive at Z. Well, that means the entire time, the whole process is I'm not there yet, I'm not there yet, I'm not there yet. You've set the game up where it's binary, I'm there or I'm not. So I'm never happy until I get there. And you might not ever get there. And so this whole process, A to Z, that's called your life. Like Z is called death. And so from that space, you can play the game of I'm not happy the whole way through because I never have the external. Dr. Wayne Dyer, one of his quotes that I love, he says, "Where is the peace and more is better?" So many people think more is better. I'll be happy when, another way of saying it. More isn't better, more is just more. And so from that space, there isn't better than here. There is just different. There's all the miracles. You could be homeless, sleeping under a bridge right now. There's miracles in your life. And if you can come from that space, which I'll get to in a moment, doesn't mean it's not harder in other ways, but there's still those miracles all around you. And so the other option is I'm going to work towards a goal happily. So I'm at A, Z is where I want to be as an outcome, final outcome. And now I go A, B, C all the way. And let's say I'm at H. Well, at H, am I at Z yet? No. But at H, I'm not at A anymore. And when I was at A, H was a dream. I was like, I can't wait till I get to H. And here I am, and I'm complaining about it. Here I am at H, and I'm not at Z. I'm not at Z yet. But if you play with it, wow, I'm at H. I went through F and E and all these different things and B and A, and now I made this progress. Look at me, I've grown, I know more, I'm further down the process. This is great. And so the whole time, I can be happy with where I'm at along the way. When you think of life as, let's say, a game, 99.9% of the time, you're playing the game, not winning the game. And so when all of your time is in the process, the A to Z, it's like the A to Y, that's all your life pretty much. And then Z is the milestone. It's a momentary, oh, I got the car, I got the watch, I got the status, I made the money. That's a little blip. But the majority of the time is the process to getting it. It's like, I love to hike. 99% of the time, it's climbing the mountain. 1% of the time is getting to the top. So you can't make it happiness where it's like, well, you can do whatever you want. But if you say, I'll be happy when I get to the top, then your hike's going to suck. Going up and down is going to be really miserable. But what if you actually fell in love with the process of hiking? Every step you're looking around going, wow, look at the sun on my skin and the animals and the nature and the wind and all this beautiful stuff. And then you take, pride in the fact that with every step, like I'm getting one step closer and you're enjoying it. Then you get to the top and it's a cherry on top. It's a great process. It's funny, like getting to the top, cherry on top, but it's like you're literally and metaphorically, hopefully for you. But it's a cherry on top, and it's a cherry on top of the experience. So work towards your goals happily. So you can create your future. There's two ways to create it. There was a title here. Let's see. There we go. Okay. 2 ways to create the future. You can create it from the past, or you can create it from the future. Almost everyone yourself included at times, creates the future from the past, and this is what that means.
And I have a fantastically corny segue now about the fact how you can either reflect on your past, this presentation, which you've already seen, or you could focus on your future, get that subscription and watch the rest of the video. But I don't want Jason accusing me. Jason, did you approach this presentation with an empty cup? Did you struggle with that? Did you have an empty cup? You're still muted here. And the answer is?
What do you mean by
okay,
that?
yeah, I got you. Okay. Well, I just was asking at the beginning of the presentation, he was urging you to approach the content with an empty cup. And I was really just asking because HR says there's a random drug test, so you need to pee in it.
Okay.
Okay. So, but what's your doggy bag? Hopefully that's not your takeaway from this presentation.
Oh,
Nobody
wow.
wants that.
No,
But,
are we doing doggy bags already?
Oh yeah, it's that time.
Oh,
People
wow.
are going to need to subscribe if they want the
We're only
rest.
like a third of the way through his presentation. What are these people going to do? They need to absorb the rest of it.
Yeah. What can you do? I guess I'm a cruel person when it comes to keeping the lights on. But what's your takeaway, Jason?
And I'm frozen. One thing that I tried to do, and I've listened to Dr. Jamil for the last 3 years now.
Yeah.
Is I try to be happy regardless of external circumstances. I'm not 100% there yet, but I am slowly getting there. So it's definitely a thing I have to work on. So.
Yep. Yeah, that's very true. And for me personally, like you were also mentioning in the private chat about another book, The Gap and Gain, because and I think that's really pivotal.
Yeah, that was when he was referring from going from A to Z, and you're at H. Be happy you're at H, you're not at A anymore. So look at what you've gained, not how much you still have left to go. So.
That cup of tea is half empty kind of thing, right? Yeah. Just had to do a throwback on that. Make sure everybody's had their coffee and is awake. But Angel, how about you? What takeaways do you want to add before we sign off?
I think really the thing that I'm taking away is just the idea that, well, there's a couple really, but the way I react is in my control. My things that are happening to me externally, yeah, they may make me angry, but that's because I'm choosing to be angry about those external issues. I don't have to be angry about it. We had a situation yesterday where, Jason forwarded me an email and I'm reading through it and I'm really angry and I want to fire off an email. And I'm glad I did not. That was like my win. But I was like, why am I so angry about this? This is a learning experience. Now we know better that this is how things need to be set up from the beginning. There needs to be contractual agreements up front and things need to be decided before anything gets started. And so that was one of those times where it's like, I get to choose how I'm going to react to those external factors. The other thing I really like is this idea of, like, when you talked about, like, when people win the lottery a year later, they don't really remember the excitement or how they felt about winning the lottery. And I think about the very first summit we did. When it was over, it was just over. There wasn't some big, huge party that we had done our very first summit. It was just over. When we got our first deal done, it was a phone call that said, okay, we received your money. And it was over. It wasn't this big, huge, woohoo, big party moment. It was just done. And one of the conversations we had with Coach T was that in those moments, we have to choose to make them special. We have to celebrate them in some way, because the result on its own, it's just a result. There is nothing associated with that result unless you make something associated with it, which really goes back to that idea of external forces. I choose how I react to those. Well, results are really just external forces. They're external occurrences, and you get the opportunity to make it what it is. And so I just feel like that was really, like, groundbreaking to me.
I love it. I love it. In Buddhism, they have a saying where my index finger is both long and short. And it's to draw attention to the fact that, it's all relative. Like if you're talking compared to a railroad track, my index finger is quite short. But compared to an entire ant's body, it's enormous, right? So it just shows that, we're the ones who put the meaning and value into things. We're the ones who decide that. So it's but I think there is a limitation. It's one, like, that's a thought process that I've really gone quite thoroughly on. And like, I find that if you're going to be ambitious, if you're going to have some bigger goal going on, then you can't just be blasé about everything. You do have to find things where you do actually care about and tap into that passion, or else, it's just, there's just going to be no urgency either. So, but there you have it. It's, it's a tough balance. I think you really do have to pick in life, what's your priorities. And I think a lot of people's friends hold them back. I think that's the big takeaway I've had personally. But yeah, I don't like leaving things on serious notes, but I guess that's how it's just going to be. But if everybody wants to see more of this action, you can check out the YouTube channel. I guess I should bring up my sub here, the sandwich. It's yummy because it's lunchtime. Make sure you subscribe. That way YouTube can start paying for this stuff instead of us. But don't forget as well, if you want to be featured as a sponsor, this space could be yours. Just get in touch with us. But that's all we got for this fantastic Friday. So let's give them the rest of their weekend. All right?
All right,
Awesome.
cool. See you, everybody.
Right. Thanks for watching. See ya.